Have you ever come across a photo so bizarre you had to stop and ask yourself, is this real? Well, that's exactly what happened in the early 1900s, when a photo surfaced showing men standing in front of a giant dragon's skull. The question on everyone's mind, was this photo a stunning proof of a legendary creature, or was it just a brilliant hoax? In today's video, we're diving into the story behind this fascinating image, and trust me, the truth might just surprise you. Take a look at the photo we're talking about. It shows a group of men, dressed in early 1900s attire, standing proudly in front of what appears to be the skull of a giant dragon. The creature's fierce features, its massive jaw and sharp teeth, seem to almost leap off the image. And yet, we can't help but ask, could this be real? One of the most intriguing aspects of this photo is the fact that it looks so convincing. Everything from the size of the skull to the expressions of the men standing around, it seems almost too perfect. But is perfection always a good sign when it comes to historical photos? Let's set the scene. The early 1900s were a time when people were fascinated by myths and legends. Stories of dragons, giant creatures, and extraordinary discoveries were everywhere. So, could this dragon skull have been the result of an ancient find? Or is it something else entirely? Back then, photography was a powerful tool. People were already using it to document the unexplainable, the strange, and the unbelievable. And what better way to capture the attention of the public than with a mythical creature? Dragons weren't just in stories. They were in people's imaginations, alive in the pages of books and the tales shared around campfires. Could it be that this photo was created to spark that same sense of wonder and mystery? Or was there a deeper reason, perhaps a clever marketing trick to profit off the public's fascination with the unknown? Now, let's consider another possibility, the hoax theory. The early 1900s were filled with strange discoveries, and many of these were eventually revealed to be hoaxes. Take the famous Cardiff giant, for example. In 1869, a 10-foot-tall human skeleton was discovered in New York. Turns out, it was a carefully crafted sculpture designed to deceive the public and make a profit from curious visitors. And this wasn't the only hoax of its kind. Could this dragon skull photo be another carefully constructed fake? Think about it, at a time when photography was still a relatively new technology. It wasn't all that hard for someone with the right skills to stage a scene like this. A large skull, possibly sculpted from clay or papier-mâché, could easily be placed in front of the camera, creating the illusion of something truly monstrous. The people in the photo, dressed in their early 1900s clothing, seem so convincing, standing there next to this giant creature. But are they part of the deception? Could they have been in on the hoax, acting as if they were discovering something groundbreaking? Or perhaps they were simply part of an elaborate show meant to sell tickets or attract attention. And let's not forget how the public's fascination with mythical creatures was at an all-time high. Newspapers and magazines were eager for sensational stories, and a real-life dragon skull would have been a perfect headline grabber. Maybe this photo wasn't about proving dragons existed, it was about capturing people's imaginations and giving them something to talk about. Take a moment and ask yourself, could someone have fabricated this photo using photography as a tool to make a myth come alive? It wouldn't be the first time a staged discovery captured the attention of the masses. And the question remains, why did they go through all that trouble? Was it just for fame, or was there something more to it? Now, let's dig a little deeper into how something like this could have been created. How could someone in the early 1900s possibly make such a convincing dragon skull and fool the public? Well, it's not as impossible as you might think. Photography back then wasn't as advanced as it is today, but it was still powerful. Early photographers and artists had a knack for staging scenes to create dramatic effects. So, it wouldn't have been difficult to craft a large skull perhaps from clay, papier mâche, or even plaster, and place it in front of the camera. With the right lighting, the skull could appear enormous and intimidating, even though it was likely a product of an artist's imagination. But that's not all. When you think about the kind of people who would have staged this photo, it becomes even clearer. At the time, there were countless discovery expeditions across the world, with everything from fossils to mysterious artifacts being unearthed and displayed. But a dragon skull would have taken things to an entirely new level. On screen, show a few images of other artifacts or hoaxes fossils, ancient bones, or creatures exhibited in the early 1900s. Could someone have intentionally staged this photo to capitalize on that excitement? It's entirely possible. People were desperate for sensational stories that would capture public interest. But what about the men in the photo? Were they part of a setup or just innocent bystanders, unknowingly posing beside a crafted prop? And here's where it gets interesting. Could this discovery have been tied to something even more sophisticated? A hoax of this magnitude wouldn't be the work of just one person. It could have involved photographers, set designers, and even local businesses who saw an opportunity to create a spectacle and sell tickets to see the dragon skull. The possibilities are endless. So, what would have made this hoax so believable? The key lies in the detail. The skull itself seems so authentic. It's big, it's sharp, and it matches the classical depictions of dragons that we've seen in folklore and art for centuries. In fact, it might have been made intentionally to fit those very expectations. The creators of this photo understood how to play on people's imaginations, and they did it well. Now, think about the impact of the photo. Imagine how it must have felt for people seeing this for the first time, hearing about a real dragon skull being discovered. It would have sparked fear, awe, and wonder, all emotions that were easy to manipulate. But that's exactly the point. This wasn't just about the skull itself. It was about creating a story that people would believe. Let's also think about the scientific community at the time. Could they have been tricked as well? In the early 1900s, the study of paleontology was growing rapidly, and new discoveries were being made all the time. But many of these discoveries were still being rigorously debated. So it's not outside the realm of possibility that this photo could have been presented as evidence of a new species, only to be later disproven. Remember, hoaxes don't always stay hidden forever. Sooner or later, someone's going to come along and challenge the validity of a so-called discovery. And in this case, the dragon skull eventually lost its credibility, but not before it left an indelible mark on the public's imagination. Asterisk. So, after everything we've explored the photo, the potential for a hoax, and the artistry behind creating something so convincing, we're left with a crucial question. What do you believe? Is this photo truly a relic of some ancient, long-lost creature, or was it simply a well-crafted fabrication designed to fool the public? Think about it. Throughout history, there have been countless hoaxes that seem too wild to be anything but real at the time. The Cardiff Giant, the Loch Ness Monster photos, even the famous Piltdown Man, all of these were once considered proof of something extraordinary, only to be later debunked. Could this dragon skull be just another example of a hoax that managed to fool an entire generation? After all, the allure of discovering a dragon, something so deeply rooted in human folklore and mythology, would have been irresistible. For anyone looking to make a name for themselves or spark public interest, this would be the ultimate discovery. But then again, there's always the possibility that it's not a hoax at all. Maybe it was something real, something we haven't yet fully understood. Could the skull have belonged to a previously unknown species that lived long before recorded history? And if that's true, where did these creatures go? Why haven't more evidence of dragons or similar creatures been found? It's a fascinating thought, isn't it? The idea that ancient dragons, or creatures like them, could have existed, hidden away in the recesses of history. But that's the problem, isn't it? Every time we try to prove something extraordinary, we face a wall of skepticism, of questions, and ultimately, of doubt. But here's the catch. Could it be that the reason we keep coming back to these myths, these legends, and these hoaxes is because deep down we want to believe? It's the mystery, the possibility of something greater than ourselves, that keeps us searching for answers, even when there's little evidence to support them. At the end of the day, it's up to you, the viewer, to decide. Was this dragon skull the result of an elaborate trick, or is there still a chance that something like it once roamed the earth? The question remains unanswered, but that's part of what makes these stories so captivating, isn't it? Sometimes, the more we look for answers, the more questions we uncover. Let's take a step back and think about why this photo and others like it captivated the public's imagination. Dragons aren't just creatures from folklore. They're part of the human story, found in cultures around the world. Whether it's the fire-breathing dragons of Western Europe or the revered, wise dragons in Chinese culture, these creatures have a powerful grip on our collective consciousness. Dragons have always been symbols of power, mystery, and danger. In Europe, they were often portrayed as fierce beasts to be slain by brave knights. But in Asia, dragons were seen as wise, benevolent creatures, often associated with strength and good fortune. So, what is it about these mythical creatures that we can't seem to shake? Why do we still want to believe in them, even today? Could it be that the idea of dragons taps into something deep within us? The need for adventure, for mystery, for the extraordinary. After all, if dragons are real, that means there are still wonders to discover in the world, things that defy explanation and fuel our wildest dreams. Let's think about how myths, legends, and stories shape the way we view the world. From ancient texts like Beowulf and the Epic of Gilgamesh, where monsters and dragons were central to the story, to modern-day movies and books like Game of Thrones and Harry Potter, dragons are more than just fantasy. They're part of our cultural fabric. And in many ways, these stories reflect our deepest desires and fears. Now, consider this. Every culture has its own version of a dragon. Even in ancient cave paintings, we can see figures that resemble serpents or dragon-like creatures. So, what if the idea of dragons is rooted in something more than just imagination? Could these ancient legends be based on real creatures, long forgotten by history? Or are they simply a product of humanity's love for storytelling? And here's the interesting part: many people still believe in dragons. Some claim they exist in remote parts of the world, or that they once did. Could the photograph of the dragon skull we're looking at today be part of a long-standing tradition of myth and legend being passed down through generations? Or is it simply a clever hoax, exploiting our collective fascination with the unknown? Whatever the truth is, dragons have become an inseparable part of our cultural history. They represent something ancient, something untamable, something that we, as humans, have always tried to understand. And while we may never know if real dragons ever existed, their stories continue to shape our imagination, sparking our curiosity about what might be hiding in the unknown. At the heart of it all, this dragon skull photo serves as a reminder of our deep-rooted connection to myth and legend. It challenges us to look beyond what we see and to question what we believe in, because sometimes the most compelling stories are the ones that keep us wondering what's out there, waiting to be discovered. So, after everything we've discussed, the mysterious dragon skull, the possibility of it being a clever hoax, the myths and legends surrounding dragons, and even the cultural impact these creatures have on us, It all boils down to one question. What do you believe? Is this dragon skull photo evidence of something extraordinary? Or is it just another carefully crafted hoax designed to capture our imaginations? The truth is, we may never have a definitive answer. But isn't that the beauty of stories? Like this, they make us question what's real, what's possible, and what might be hidden away in the farthest corners of the earth. Whether it's a myth, a hoax, or something far more complex, it's these kinds of stories that keep us searching for the truth long after the photos are taken and the theories are debunked. And the more we search, the more we realize that sometimes it's the mystery itself that makes these stories so powerful. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think? Was this photo a well-executed hoax, or is there still a chance that a real dragon skull once existed? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your take on this incredible mystery. If you enjoyed diving into the world of hoaxes, mythical creatures, and mysterious photos, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your friends. And don't forget to ring the bell so you never miss a deep dive into the unknown. We have a lot more stories just like this coming your way. Thanks for watching, and remember, keep questioning everything, because sometimes the most unbelievable stories are the ones that are just waiting to be uncovered.